had a conversation with an agent out of Fort Lauderdale that was making an offer on a 1.5 million property. They offered point 0.2 and the seller didn't respond to them. And I said, okay, well, how'd you come up with point 0.2? What was the expectation of the buyer? And we dove into the stats and I said, well, let's look at this a little bit more hyper-local. So I went in here to Florida. I went to luxury stats. The property was a single family in Broward County. So I selected Broward and I selected single family and I selected the price range 0.25. And I came down here and there's these two buttons. One is percentage of a last list price and percentage of original list price. So when I clicked this, we came over here to the month of April and I said, okay, so the properties in this price range, single family, Broward County, in the month of April, the ones that sold for 96.3% of original list price. And if they had had a price reduction, the ones that sold for 98% of the last list price. And I said, okay, so at 1.4 or at 1.5 million, if you use those percentages, it says the ones that sold on average or at median of about 1.4 million. And I said, so here's the thing, not that your buyer's wrong, not that the seller was correctly priced. However, your buyer is probably concerned that they're overpaying. So this gives you a data point to be able to go back to that buyer and let them know what the market's telling them in terms of what properties are selling for in relationship to asking price. And it gives you context to where you're able to have that conversation with a seller if somebody's coming in low. It gives you context to have with a buyer if they're trying to figure out what to offer on a property. 0.5. And I came down here and there's these two buttons. One is percentage of a last list price and percentage of original list price. So when I clicked this, we came over here to the month of April and I said, okay, so the properties in this price range, single family, Broward County, in the month of April, the ones that sold for 86.3% of original list price.